This video is brought to you by Factor. It's hot as outside, man. It must be the summertime. And I know at times like these, the last thing you're thinking of is making a trip to the grocer to get dinner ready. If only there was some way you can get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and most importantly, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Looky here, that's exactly what Factor specializes in. It's less time worrying about what to cook tonight and more time you can remain focused on your wellness goals. And now they're owned by HelloFresh, who I've worked with in the past before, so on top of what Factor offers, you can also have all the options HelloFresh gives you too. That's convenience you can't beat. You literally just pop these in the microwave and the food comes out all nice and hot. But these ain't your cheap frozen microwavable dinners. They're always delivered fresh. I think the quality of the food is testament to that. You know, like the filet mignon with broccoli. You know, microwave steak can come out rubbery, the veggies slimy. But no, this is one of the best steak meals I ever had, and it only took a couple of minutes. And there's plenty more where that came from, including new salads and over 70 add-ons like green juices and peanut butter energy bites, and globally inspired dishes like the honey sambal barramundi and their chicken coconista quinoa. And again, no planning needed, no prep, and no cleanup, which I appreciate as someone who's trying to get back into a fitness routine. You know, the journey of maintaining a balanced life is a never-ending struggle. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code SCMJFB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code SCMJFB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. Now, as a heads up, the offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video, and thank you as always for supporting my channel. Let's continue on with the show. Alright, convention season is officially over for me, and to everyone who came to see me at this past 2 mini games, thank you all so much. I mean that every single time. It's always a pleasure to see so many people come on by, say hello, shake hands, sign things for them, and I get gifted a couple of things. I got this Majora's Mask mug. This was a gift from a fan, and one fan even gifted me Brick from Pizza Tower. Look at her. Certainly makes the constant spikes of anxiety I get as a content creator very much worth it. But with that said, we can get back to Wario games, or Wario-adjacent in this case. Last time we looked at Pizza Tower, a game I very much enjoyed and was more than happy to recommend. Today though, we're looking at Antonblast, a title that's often mentioned alongside Pizza Tower when we're talking about getting your Wario Land fix in a day and age where Nintendo really just doesn't seem interested in making any more Wario Land games. Although at the time of this recording, the first Wario Land game for the Game Boy was just put on NSO. And while I know I have nothing to do with that, I'm still going to take some time to say, you're welcome, America. Okay, so this is Antonblast, created by Summitsphere, and I guess the second game in the Anton universe, if that's the way to describe it. The first game, Anton Ball Deluxe, wasn't really much a platformer. It was a puzzle game, a horizontal take on Breakout of all things. Now, I didn't play it for this video, I just looked it up. It doesn't look like something I'd play outside of a review, but the important thing here is that this game was successful enough for Summitsphere to work on another game, and that's Antonblast, a 2D high-octane platformer that asks, what if Wario Land, but Wario was fury made manifest and powered by alcohol? That's one way to describe the protagonist of this game, Dynamite Anton, who finds himself in a tizzy when the fucking devil himself starts making his life miserable when the Prince of Darkness learns that he isn't the reddest guy in the world. That's Anton. So Satan steals all of Anton's shit and provokes him into heading into his humble abode in the deepest pits of hell so that he can eventually suck all the red out of Anton with this comically large straw. Joining Anton is his roommate Annie, who doesn't have much to do in the story. She just wants to blow shit up and cause a ton of mayhem. I like Annie, even if she looks like she's always thinking of poisoning my soup. You can swap between the two at any time in the hub world, and the two play exactly the same. It's just a matter of preference. No matter who you pick, Antonblast takes little time to get the ball rolling. As early as the first stage, this game kicks into grade A, high gear, high energy, balls to the wall, up the ass bullshit, complete with explosions, visual overload, and more screen shaking than a fucking earthquake. Antonblast relishes unapologetically in a loud, abrasive, and edgy aesthetic that, like Pizza Tower, harkens back to cartoons of the 90s. Shit, Satan in this game is just the love child of the red guy from Cow and Chicken and the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog's incarnation of Dr. Robotnik.
Ahem! My eyes are up here!
The brief character interactions we get in the game's outro and ending are kinda hit and miss with the humor, but besides that, I think the game is damn funny. The character expressions for both the heroes and villains being standout examples. Assuming you can see it all amongst all the bric-a-brac and chaos, the detail in Antonblast is second to none. The sprite work is nice, detailed, crisp, and fluid. It reminds me a lot of Earthworm Jim. And while I personally never liked that game, if I'm being honest, I always loved how it looked, and this game rocks it just as well. The colors bask in so much variety, ranging from subdued to psychedelic as all hell, and the soundtrack is exploding with so much energy that it feels like there's never a dull moment. Even if multiple times it sounds a little derivative. Like, I get musical tributes and all that, but a couple of times I couldn't help but go, dude, this is just a track ripped straight from Crash Bandicoot. In fact, while I know Wario Land 4 is a major inspiration for the game's design and Virtual Boy Wario Land, I'm telling you, that game was great. I think it's more accurate to call Antonblast an aggressive as fuck throwback to Crash Bandicoot. It even has a few times where you bounce off of crates for secrets, so the boxes need to be a smidge larger than this to make this feel comfortable. This shit is like trying to bounce off of an ant. And deadass, there's just nitro crates in this game that act exactly how they did in Crash Bandicoot. I mean, the game overall feels like a hodgepodge of a lot of things. It's one part Wario Land, it's one part Crash Bandicoot, Sonic the Hedgehog, Earthworm Jim, Donkey Kong Country. It's a collective stew of a bunch of shit, and for the most part it works, but it's not without issues. Let's get into the standard gameplay loop of Antonblast first. The name of the game is getting Anton's stuff back, namely his collection of spirits. Anton is a man who fancies the drink, after all. The spirits are the mandatory collectible of this game, basically like how the crystals were in Crash Bandicoot. But every stage also has stuff like a cassette tape to add more music to the game's sound test, a knick-knack for Annie's collection that is usually just a piece of junk, but it's valuable to her, so that's all that matters. Finally, every stage also has a spray can that unlocks a new color scheme for Anton and Annie, and holy shit, there's so many different colors you can eventually unlock, and I didn't come anywhere close to getting them all. If you just care about finishing the game, you only need to collect the spirit, and most of the time it's directly in your path. They're very hard to miss, if impossible to miss at all. I'm not entirely sure about that. But because Anton's also an angry fuck, it's not enough to just collect the spirit, he's a demolition expert by trade, so when all's said and done, it's time for happy hour, where Anton sets a timer on a big ass bomb that'll nuke the entire stage, meaning you gotta scramble back to the beginning of the area and get your ass out of there before things get explosive. I mean, even more explosive than it already was. Compared to Wario Land 4 and Pizza Tower, Antonblast is simpler with the collectibles. Like, besides the spirit, there's no other mandatory thing to nab in the middle of the stage. Every level is pretty much a straightforward romp. Now, a lot of stages do involve setting off color-coded switches to open up different paths, allowing you to explore deeper, but even still, game progression is incredibly linear and rarely branches into something different. And in terms of levels, there's only about 12 of them, with the rest of the adventure hosting a bunch of boss fights small and large. With his trusty hammer, Anton can dash on the ground to crash through enemies and obstacles alike. If there's a bunch of shit in your path all at once, you can chain dashes together to not only build up combos, but rack up a bunch of speed and really blaze on by, as long as the enemy doesn't have any frontal protection like spikes. Even then, sometimes I feel dashing through things doesn't keep the sense of flow going, and I end up stopping abruptly for whatever reason, and I'm not sure if I was just doing something wrong. Anton can also do this hammer bounce. You hit the button in midair and you can do this flip attack that you can use to not only break certain objects, but also bounce off of the ground and certain enemies to get additional height. Now, I gotta be real, I didn't like the hammer bounce as a gameplay mechanic. Visually, I love the way it looks. I don't know, I just like when I can spin in midair with reckless abandon. And as an offensive option, I think the attack is just fine. It's when the game makes me use it for platforming that I just never find comfortable. Whether that's bouncing off of a chain of enemies to reach new areas, or some platforms being just out of reach and you gotta bounce to get to them, it's hard to explain, but it can feel really imprecise and disturbs the pace of the game that's generally pretty good about keeping shit going. I think it would have served the game better if you had like a dedicated high jump or double jump. Shit, the game pays so much tribute to Crash anyway, why couldn't it borrow some of the upgrades from Crash 3? Most of Antonblast, from my experience, can be described as cathartic nonsense. Most of your time in this game is spent wrecking a lot of shit. Unga me bunga, watch number go up. There are so many breakable objects plastered in every level that you can crack with either your weapon, a ground pound or a ground roll, or a stage gimmick. Every level is swimming in poker chips that act as currency you can spend in Brulo's shop, where you can buy additional collectibles for full completion, or color schemes for your character, or visual gimmicks like a Virtual Boy filter, I'm not kidding. Or you can purchase miscellaneous stuff like a pet dog or cat that can help you sniff out stuff and collect things for you, or a permanent upgrade to your health bar, which you'll appreciate more as you get closer to the end, seeing as Anton is unfortunately not immortal like his counterpart. He can die, and fuck me, he will die a lot later on. What doesn't help is that, I mean, you can see it just by looking at this, the game can get very cluttered with visual effects and screen shaking. Now, I personally don't find it too bothersome, but I also come from a time where shit like this was commonplace for me as a kid, and my eyes have been paying the price for that since then. But as I get older, I can't help but admit that shit is just hard to keep track of sometimes, and it gets to be a little much. Doubly so when you're required to bounce between layers like in Virtual Boy Wario Land, and the foreground can just straight up obscure shit on top of the rest of the visual clutter, already making shit hard to see. I love me some fast-paced adventures, and for the most part Antonblast does this fine enough, and to be fair, you can reduce the screen shaking in the options menu. But I also think it definitely should have reeled back a bit more beyond that. It can be a very busy adventure. The game also packs a few transformation gimmicks, or vehicles in some cases, like a random-ass unicycle that was nevertheless still funny to see in action. While some of these are mostly harmless, like the sewer shark that makes the polar bear noises from Crash Bash, a few are just awkward. The bomb form has a great air dash and a bounce that can get you some serious height, but the platforming tied to the gimmick can be incredibly precise, and this thing is not only affected by the angle of certain terrain, but the controls for this thing are also pretty loose, making it easy to run into shit with just slight taps of the analog stick or D-pad. I don't mind the torpedo form too much, but the turning can feel pretty wide, you're forced to move constantly, and if you so much as rub against the ceiling or floor, you lose the damn thing altogether and you gotta backtrack to get it again so that you can bypass certain walls only the torpedo can bust open. The jetpack shares most of these problems as well, though I still find it exhilarating enough to find it enjoyable. It probably helps that I played a lot of Jetpack Joyride back when that was a thing. The absolute worst one for me, this is probably not surprising to anybody, it's the pinball. You're trapped in a ball and are at the mercy of level geometry and pinball gimmicks, and yeah, there's a couple of stages that are just straight up pinball levels, and fuck me, it can be so tiring. I don't like pinball, I never have, and the hit detection of this shit can feel as bad as Sonic Heroes. I want to stress again though, most transformations are perfectly fine, and some are just so comically over the top that I couldn't help but say fuck yeah, like that mech that's a callback to Aliens that's not only indestructible, it shoots goddamn chainsaws as projectiles. Even with the more cumbersome variants, Antonblast is good at giving you health pickups so that you're not starving for health all the time, and you have infinite lives. With enough perseverance, you can get past even the most grueling stages, but holy shit, in my opinion, the game's quality and level design and difficulty drop off of a fucking cliff in the final third of the adventure. And what really stings about this is that up until then, the game's pretty comfortable. Not brain dead, no, it can be pretty spicy with certain gimmicks and obstacles throughout, but nevertheless, it's still enjoyable. One of my favorite stages is the Big Bath, a level that pays homage to liminal horror, eerily changing level design on a whim to test your knowledge of level memorization. It's so cool and unsettling, but instantly memorable. Most boss fights are also flashy spectacles that are crunchy in your face and a good test of dexterity, but after a point, shit starts getting pretty annoying. Some boss encounters like Small Buster or Jesus Christ, Ring-a-Ding just go on too long. The spectacle of these encounters just isn't enough to save these guys. Like, finishing off Ring-a-Ding by smacking the fucking moon into it, I know is supposed to come off as satisfying, but I'm like, holy shit, finally, dude. Now, I already went into the pinball stuff, but stages like the Mad Mall have shit like enemies being really fucking annoying to hit. Now, don't get me wrong, I love how low quality these goblin shits look and move. That's funny, but goddamn, it's not enough to mask how frustrating it is to hit these fuckers. Oh my god, the mysterious glass house just goes on for fucking ever. Most levels up until now were about 5 to 10 minutes, at least, for your first time. This level was near half a goddamn hour for me. What the fuck? This shit was just exhausting. Checkpoint after checkpoint, segment after segment, it just keeps going. Did no one in the team think, hey, maybe we should cut some of this shit out and just make a different level with it? And that's just for basic completion. I can't imagine how tedious this shit would be when going for like the combo challenge or the time trials. Later levels are also not just long-winded and momentarily haphazard, they starve the fuck out of you for checkpoints. The last couple of stages reek of this, and I always expect the end of the game to be the ultimate test of skill and reflexes, but fucking up is too punishing in my opinion. In some parts, you're sent so far back that the very notion of continuing is just draining and it doesn't let up. It just continuously throws shit on top of shit on top of shit, back-to-back transformations, anti-gravity segments with awkward enemy placement, all with a grueling timer
taunting you the entire way. Legit, I wasn't having fun with the game anymore. And it sucks to see that, because up until here, Antonblast, I had some gripes here and there, but I could still recommend it. And I want to be clear, at the end of the day, Antonblast is still a cautious recommend, because outside of that bullshit I just went into, the game still has a ton of cool moments. There's plenty of stuff to collect for completion's sake. And to mention again, the game is funny, and I think that has value. I love the aesthetic, the presentation, and all the in-jokes peppered throughout the adventure. This game has a dedicated scream button. And, sometimes I just like busting through a bunch of shit while keeping the pipes nice and loud, But fuck, man, I do think the quality takes a nosedive towards the final third of the game. The level design is just not fun. It's awkward, strained, overly punishing, just fucking exhausting. It was enough to dock the game a few points for me. And I also realized the game visually just might be a little much for some. I love explosive nonsense, but I certainly think this won't be for everyone. Still, for what it's worth, I had enough fun with it. It's not terribly long. It's also not very expensive. I probably won't be replaying this, but I think as far as Wario Land inspired titles go, this can help fill the void while you wait for God knows how long for the new Wario Land game to come out, if that ever happens. But shit, if you also want a Crash Bandicoot that'll kick your dick in repeatedly that isn't Crash 4, Antonblast can help fill that niche too.
And just so we're clear, because I know people might be asking about this sort of thing, I think it's easy to gauge just from my opinion on this video that I didn't enjoy Antonblast as much as Pizza Tower and all that jazz. But at the same time, Antonblast is not trying to be Pizza Tower, it's trying to be a Wario Land game. So at the end of it all, I don't think it's really fair to compare Antonblast to Pizza Tower. As Wario Land inspired, high-octane 2D platformers, they both fill different niches depending on what you're looking for. My problems with Antonblast mainly stem from its unbalanced difficulty, especially towards the end game, and a few gimmicks. I will say though, reviewing two indie games back to back did elicit a lot of nostalgia in terms of so a long time ago I used to do the indie game showcases. It's been a long time since I did one of those, but it was pretty much just an excuse to just look at a bunch of shit, whatever I felt like it, and the videos were really short sometimes, but they were also really easy to make, and sometimes I just want something that's easy to make, and I think for some reason indie games, in particular 2D games like Pizza Tower and Antonblast, just give me the excuse to just fuck it, man. Did I enjoy myself, and can I recommend it to folks? So who knows, man. I've been getting a lot of requests, just can you bring back the indie game showcase, and I really am thinking about it, but there's so much other shit I want to look at now after we go back to the Wario Land games. Well, they say Wario Land, our next game is not a Wario Land game, it's just a Wario game, and that's Wario World on the Nintendo GameCube. I'm going to be looking at the version available on NSO though. I don't think I physically own Wario World for the GameCube. I gotta actually go upstairs and check my collection, but I'm just going to play it on NSO just for the sake of saving myself some time and stress, and maybe some money if I don't physically own the game, because I don't know how much Wario World goes off of online retailers nowadays. But that's generally where we're going to leave things off on, and then afterwards we'll play Wario Land Shake It for the Nintendo Wii. I know there's one particular game I've been ignoring deliberately so that has Wario in its name, but it's not a Wario World game or a Wario Land game, but well, I'll explain more at the end of the Wario World video. So I'll see you guys next time. As always, thank you all for watching. Stay safe out there. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care.
As long as there's an end to a versus video, patron shoutouts are sure to follow. So shoutouts to Lynx Plays 2001, Lizzy in a Tizzy, Dark Mercy, Local Rotor, Logan the Kid, LOLY, Lone Otaku, Lorem Noxum, Lucky Short, MB, Matrone, Mason Fox, Max Z 2021, Mad Duck, Magwell 167, Myzox, Manuel Gonzalez, Marcise Edwards, Mark Ferguson, Marquise, Martin Lori Moore, Martina McBride, Mason 309, Master XXS, Matt Donovan, Matt Hope, Mauritanian Sahara, I think that's how you pronounce the name, Max Strayer, Mediocre Panda, Mega Amster, Mega Beatman, True Blue Reviews, Mental Meta Dale, Misatsu Mike, Metal Tremin, Metal J Rock 2299, Metroid 1999, Mevin 2001, M Gear, Michael Cook, Michael Taylor, and finally for today, Midori Smith. I'll catch you guys with the Wario World video, which will hopefully be here sooner than you think it might be. You can catch more videos at the end screen here. Do whatever floats your boat, keep your eyes glued to the screen, listen to me with background noise. I just appreciate you being here. Have a good night, everybody.